Welcome to Act Now Education's Transition with Us.
Okay. How's it going, everyone? Thank you guys for joining us for the first episode. This is the first episode.
It's big.
Yeah. This is a process for us for the Transition Mindset podcast. I'm Jay Salters. I'm joined with Nigel, our host, and we're going to cover some different topics. And the focus of this is to really just go through our transition because we were just talking about this. We don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out, right? Just like everyone else. And I think this is really important for folks to kind of get a good grasp on what that looks like, share resources, and then, see what we come up with. What you got to start thinking about, what is the process for you in transitioning, or, the things that you're thinking about. And like right now we're at the point of, okay, we need to look at resources and things like that. But what's your thoughts overall on the stuff that you think we should be looking into? And how should we do that, right? We still got some people joining here.
Yep.
But we'll tell a little bit about our story, and then we can kind of go into breaking down like what we're going to use in the tool sets and that. And so I'm closer to the line out, but I'll let Nigel hit up his story first.
Hey, everyone. Glad that you guys took time out today and able to join us on this. Let's see. So I've been in this year will make it about 18 years. I can start SkillBridge roughly in about 26 months or so. So I'm getting a really early head start on this. I've been doing HR in the Navy for my entire career, so I'm very familiar with the HR world, very familiar with leading people, different personalities, customer service, essentially. So when I transition out, I'm looking for something maybe in the HR realm, maybe in cybersecurity. Still trying to figure it out, like Jay says, right? There's no rule book on this. So I'm using the resources that are available to all of us through Act Now, and just building my network. I can't do this alone. Jay's been a really big help. And I look forward to the insights and the help that all of you can provide. We gotta go with the mentality, one team, one fight. Oh, okay. I see you, Corinne. I see you, former PS here. That's what I'm talking about, man. PS, baby. Love it, love it.
Yeah, and then for me, my date is September 1st. That's my transition date, of 2027. And so that would make me eligible for SkillBridge um around May timeframe. And then that's the one thing, and we can kind of get into this, like what does eligibility look like for folks that are transitioning? And we do have a snippet that I want to bring up here so we can kind of share it. Let me do that real fast. But this will help you get a better understanding of what it looks like for that. And this is just one of the things that you're thinking about, right? In terms of your transition. Let me see if I can share this real fast. I don't know if everyone can see this. Shout out to Dave Shantz for being able to create this. He's, if you don't know him, he is the SkillBridge champion. Definitely reach out to him, connect with him. But this is a breakdown that he's created, and we just put it out there as well. But essentially says where you are with your ranks, and if you look at it, it's kind of crazy because the Navy, usually we're not good at things like this. But the Navy, in terms of like, so I'm an O4 right now. And I'll get up close to 120 days, which puts me at May time frame. But this is really just dependent on your service, where you are, where you fall at with your rank. Some commands, they're all with it, and some commands aren't. So it really just depends on what is it that your commander's approval for, the process for you transitioning out, and whether or not there's a need, especially what was going on today in this world. So just wanted to share that so people can have that. We'll also drop that so that people can grab these resources as well as we start to share them. So we got a few people on here. All right, we got. I see. We got Got some NCs in the building too.
Oh
Formal.
man, career counselors, baby, we need you.
All right, let me add that. All right. And so when you're thinking about the transition process, and Nigel, like in terms of it, like I guess we can go over the checklist, right? And so it's just being able to walk through that process for you and then being able to identify how best you want to align yourself with what you're trying to do. You should have some goals ultimately. Like, what are some of the things that you guys are thinking about in terms of transitioning, right? I know find my finances, I want my finances to be straight, right? If I'm making sure I'm taking care of all the documentations, making sure that college is good for my kids, making sure that I understand what opportunities are available for me, how much it's going to cost once I get out of the military. I don't know what my disability rating will be, and so factoring that in. And I don't. I mean, Nigel was talking about like switching from uh, what he's doing now into HR role, possibly cybersecurity. For me, I don't know if I want to work right away, right? So those are other things to consider. And some people burn out by just, going from one opportunity to the next and then trying to get after it. And so I think for me, that's really important to kind of consider and think about. What's your thoughts?
I think along with the finances and the disability, I think a huge resource for us would be the GI Bill, right? So, I mean, it ties in with the disability. I know if we get 100% rated, you have 100%, then you have P&T, then that ties into the Montgomery GI Bill, sending your kids to school for free. Um, the transition is it's easy paperwork wise, but there's a lot that we got to prepare for. And I'm sure there's people in here who I'm assuming have already gone through this process. Has anyone already retired recently or a while back? Most importantly, the loss. Are we talking about processing the loss from the system to process that DD-214? Because I know from the PS side, if the loss isn't processed and the number stays in the service, that could result in an overpayment, and then they deduct that from your final pay. Loss of community purpose. I retired in October 2021. So, Linda, when you retired, um, what was the biggest adjustment for you?
Okay, I'll come off mute.
That's
Um,
what I'm talking about.
the biggest adjustment was the sense of loss of not having that community. My community all were still active duty. So going through the transition of, okay, I don't have that anymore. It's now me on the civilian side. It's you have a true sense of loss of purpose, of mission. You could put it like that when you join this side. It's a major adjustment, and it took me over a year and a half, almost 2 years, before I finally reached back out and I connected with Jay. I had met Jay in person like months before I transitioned because I was in Virginia, and then my husband got orders back to Washington State because he's active duty, and we moved here. And I literally just I went into a shell. I didn't connect with anyone for about a year and a half. I wasn't even active in Act Now. And then I just kind of was like, okay, I need to do something more. I need to get active, and I need to start pursuing my own things.
What do you think? What do you feel held you back from reconnecting? Was it like something personal, or what was your
I'll
holdback
be
on it?
honest, I got out as a E6, higher tenure,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't on my terms. So I was mad.
Oh,
I was mad. Yeah. I was 11 years every single time making the board and just not making it. And that was hard because I wanted to retire. My goal when I first joined was retire at least as a chief. and not being able to get that because of, the rules of higher tenure, that was rough. That was rough. And I think in a way I didn't want to connect with the military community because I was a bit anger. There
Mhm.
definitely was some anger there, like, okay, how come you're still in and I'm not? But I've come to terms with it now, and I think a lot of people, um, someone brought it up in another webinar that I was on, is where's your why after the uniform comes off? Because
Yes,
when you're in the military for so long, like that's your identity. That truly is your identity. So when you don't have that anymore, it's you have to create a new one.
100%. I think I was talking about this with Jay the other day that, we're so used to having that structure and, that demand for us. But I think once you transition, like you said, you really got to tap into your why, find your purpose again. And that is, I'm sure, easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that a lot of people, and you read some statistics. I think I read something somewhere. It was talking about people who transitioned out the military. And this is like mainly senior folks, like E7, E8, E9, or senior folks. Like as soon as they transition out the military, like their life expectancy is not that long from that transition date. They were saying like 10 years or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but I remember like looking at something that says that, and I think that has to do with like the purpose, right? If you've been driving for so long trying to do this, and then you leave the community or you leave what you know, and you're trying to discover who you are, that is definitely part of that transition mindset. That is definitely trying to figure out what's out there, what opportunities you can kind of lean to, and you're just looking for something that resembles some familiarity, right? Regardless of what it is. And that doesn't only apply to service members, that all applies to military spouses too, right? Everyone goes through these unique problem sets and they try to identify you know, how best to cope, right? Because you're always transitioning, regardless of what you're doing. You're always transitioning, and it's just how are you leveraging, um, and how are you taking care of yourself in the right manner to be able to do that? And so it's something I think it doesn't get as much attention as needed, um, but it's important. It's definitely important. Yeah, senior members are the most notorious who are in denial when it comes to transition in Lord said. Absolutely, because junior sailors or junior airmen or soldiers or Marines, you know, they got resiliency. They can bounce back real fast because they're adaptable and they're flexible. If you've been doing something for a long time, and then now you gotta like all that goes away. Your rank doesn't go with you, right? No one knows
Hmm.
who. It doesn't matter if you was a E9 or E6 or E5. They don't care. Like with the civilian sector, like, okay, are you going to do the work? So that's those things are things that people really don't think about too much, um, or at least I see don't put a lot of energy into, and they should because it's just an aspect that is important.
And I think one thing I'm like super thankful for is yes, in the service, you have that camaraderie, you have that sense of purpose, the demand for what you do on a daily basis, right? And once you get out, um, I'm assuming, right, from what I've heard, that just shuts off like a light. But just being part of Act Now, for me, that feels like the camaraderie. Like it's a whole community of us. And a lot of us go through the same thing. A lot of us have done the transition, we've done the training, certifications, or people have been on the job hunt for a hot minute and we share that struggle. So, yes, when we get out the service, we'll lose that, but I feel like being part of a community like Act Now, um, it's a lifesaver. I feel like it's something great.
Yeah, that sense of belonging is really important. And just being able to connect with folks, I feel is definitely that. Um, but yeah, uh, so let's cover down on some things, right? Thinking about the transition for those who are transitioning, um, some of the items or things that you probably should consider, because this is the same thing we're doing, like I said, and this is more like an open forum. going through this process, and we want, you to transition with us. And so for those who have experience, definitely provide your input. And for those who are transitioning, take these resources and tools and kind of figure out how best you want to maneuver around it. And so let's get the checklist up here. Grab that real fast. And then we can kind of walk through that a little bit so we can kind of understand, um, do a quick breakdown on that, see how beneficial that would be. Okay, there we go. Can everyone see that? All right. So this hasn't been updated in a minute, but we will definitely update it. We'll definitely but we'll still share this out so that everyone has it. But we can kind of cover down and walk through this and why we feel like some of these aspects are really important. And so this is, if you are transitioning out within like 3 years to 1 year, some of the things that's really important, accruing some leave, right? And so being able to save up leave. I have been a proponent of using all my leave because I need all that time. And so right now I'm at a state where, like, I kid you not, I got like 3 or 4 days leave. I took some leave the last 2 years, man. I was
Man.
enjoying life. But I gotta accrue some leave, and I obviously don't have a lot of time to do so. But 60 days is what is recommended. And then with that, sometimes with your SkillBridge, it may be tied into that, like your terminal leave may be tied into that. Like, I know for me, my command that I'm at now, they require me to use my terminal with my SkillBridge. And permissive TDY. So it's not anything separate. They want you to do all together. Um, then we have, financial prep and savings. And that kind of goes back to what you said, Nigel. Like, if the command doesn't process your loss, you can either get overpaid or be paid late as your
Hmm.
transition process. And so you want to at least to make sure that, you have at least a few months of pay set aside just in case. That they say 6 months is like recommended, but 3 months to help at least get you started. So that should be like a game plan. That should be a part of what it is. And touch base with a financial counselor before you go. Like I said, you have all these resources to your tools now, but like once you transition, things are very different, right? What's your thoughts, Nigel?
I agree, man. Like Laura Bell is saying, right? She said financial planning is the foundational overlooked item. I've seen many members do not either pay attention to and or unrealistic in their expectations for separation and or retirement. Yeah, we say it all the time. We got to prep, right? We got to set aside some money, but life happens, situation happens, bills pile up. But I 100% agree with Laura Bell on this. Yeah, you definitely got to take time and set some of that aside because some of this could be out of your control, right? If you're not staying on top of your separation package or the case that they use in Salesforce now, if that's not processed in time, you're getting overpaid for each day that it's not released. And by the time it's released by TSC Norfolk for the Navy people in here, the system will go back and say, okay, this member got out on this date. So all these days that went by, you were overpaid. So now we take that from your final separation pay, and then that just throws a dent in your financial plans.
Yeah.
So staying on top of it.
Some of the other aspects that we have in here are life insurance, will, and testament. Um, those are things that are extremely important when transitioning out. I mean, they're important to have anyway. I looked at my will. I thought I was good to go. I realized that my will doesn't even have my youngest daughter on it, right? It's just things that we need to make sure that we good. And I think the last time I had my will was for when I deployed to Iraq. I mean, Afghanistan and Iraq. And so just making sure that your will and testament is good to go, and your life insurance and whatever policy that you want to do. Some people want to get their own term or a whole life. I'm not here to, guide you on either way, but just more so like figuring out what it is that works best for you. Your children's college, military cool, which is a program that you can utilize as long as you have more than a year before your transition that you can take advantage for free certifications. Each service calls it something different. Army calls it Army CA. The Navy has Navy Cool. Air Force, I think, has Air Force Cool as well. And so you can touch base on that. Um, and then doing bringing your spouse, if you have a spouse, bringing them to these sessions as well when you start to do your out processing, because there's a lot. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has sat. I sat in one of the TAP classes a couple of years back just to see how much it is. And there's 5 holes of information for 4 or 5 days, for 4 days. It's a lot. And if you're thinking about a million things, like it's a hard process. And so that it's good to kind of start that process now. Building your LinkedIn is better to build your LinkedIn and build your network before you need it. So better to have a network and not need it than to need a network and not have one. And so a lot of people, I come across a lot of people who don't even create LinkedIns.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a totally underutilized resource in itself right there.
Yeah.
And again, a long time ago, I remember when you put me onto Act Now and you were telling me about the whole LinkedIn process, and I was like, what? That's crazy. But it pays off. It makes sense and it works.
Yeah.
Building your network now is, especially for me, since I'm transitioning in about 2 years, right? That'll be my actual out date. Um, just the people that I've met, people that I've worked with, and just that closeness that we have, like that is, like I said, that goes back to that camaraderie that we used to have in the service. So I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah. And we'll make sure we'll share this stuff with you guys so you have the documentation as well. But when you look at it, you got your 12 months out, looking at your transition, hitting up TAP class, doing your ACP, touching base with the mentor. Um, and then taking advantage of any starting to look into SkillBridge opportunities because you got a few months out from there. Making sure your medical is done. That's the only thing I know every single veteran tells active duty service. Medical, go to medical. You stubbed
Yeah,
your pinky toe, go to
for
medical.
anything. Yeah.
Your toenail fell off, go to medical for everything. And it's important because we don't do that that often. Like I was looking at how many times I go to medical. Very fearless. Other than like the yearly physical exams, I don't ever go to medical. Even when I am sick or I need to go, I just like, you know, but
Hard headed.
that's not good. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what it is too? I think we get so caught up in taking care of other people and, our sailors or airmen, our personnel around us. We get so wrapped up in taking care of other people, we forget to take care of ourselves. So it's important to take that knee and remember to take care of yourself spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, whatever it is. Because if you can't take care of yourself, how are we going to take care of everybody else, right? And that applies to after service as well, too.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's it. So I gotta get on that train for sure. And then making sure you make copies of whatever it is that you're doing as far as your medical record. Getting a sleep study if you need one. They're going to change some things with the VA benefits and so disability. So it's important to make sure you document as much as possible. And you also are up to date on that. You want to make sure you register for your e-benefits, and then when we get into like the 10-month mark and stuff like that, it's making sure that you are checking to see what opportunities are out there, looking into SkillBridge, making sure that you are choosing, what type of survivor benefits that you want to utilize, and then getting prepared for your permissive TDY if you're going to take advantage of that. And then one of the important things, as we said before, is like your last paycheck is not given to you directly. And so they actually are doing some processes to clear that. And so you want to make sure you have some money set aside. And those things are important to have. And so we'll share the transition checklist and we'll be testing this. Like we'll go through this and see if if there's things that we need to add or things that we need to improve. But it's important to be able to have a clear picture of what you want to do.
One thing I want to add to with the SBP Survivor Benefits Program, um, if you don't, okay, so If you decline coverage and you go with your own life insurance that you purchase, elsewhere, cool. If you don't fill out the SBP form or you don't turn it in and your retirement date approaches, that survivor benefits program deduction will apply to your retirement pay automatically. So just be mindful if you're going through the transition. If you don't want to elect SBP, make sure that you indicate that on I think it's the DD 2656 form for SBP.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I'm taking advantage of that. And then also the deliveries on, I mean, benefits on delivery at discharge, the BDD program, taking advantage of that when you had your 6 month window mark. I know that some people, if they miss that, it's essentially a program that allows you to, as soon as you get discharged, you get your rating, even if it's like delayed. It's still like you will get it roughly around that time frame, and so it's important to make sure that you take advantage of that too. So I'm going to be taking advantage of that when we're looking into it and making sure that I don't miss that window, because I know a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people miss their window. They wait until they get to 4 months or 3 months, and it's too late to be able to process that. Um, yeah, a message.
I seen in the chat, Laura Bell says that she's been planning her exit since 2013. Wow. Oh man, that's a story I'd love to hear.
Laura, when do you get out? When's your transition date? Okay, look,
31 August 2027.
look. Okay, so you definitely down with the crew. You definitely down. You riding with us. We gonna be doing this together.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna share. I don't know if you guys have these resources, but I'm gonna share the resources in the chat so that you guys have them as well. Like I said, feel free to make changes if you need to. But this is just something to kind of help us, gear us, and guide us. All right, so we covered a few things, and a few items that feels helpful to folks. What are some things that you are thinking about in terms of your transition, or things that questions that you guys may have, in terms of what it is that you're looking to do or thinking about? Let me grab this one in here too. I think for me, one of the other things is having a purpose while you're still in, right? I know some people check out during this time frame, or they slow down during this time frame, and this is definitely not the time frame for that. I would say you would want to go hard on your transition, because once you're done, you're done. Everyone transitions once. So yeah, it's something that you don't want to take lightly. And let me share this framework. Feeling
Hey,
underprepared no
Jay.
matter how hard I've been working. That is true. When do you transition, Imani? Okay, yo, you right around
Oh,
the corner.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
A
So,
lot.
Imani, I got a question for you, right? So, feeling unprepared, no matter how hard you've been working, in your eyes, what does being prepared for yourself look like?
And for those who are watching online, she's transitioning in July 2026. And
That
so,
is like right around the corner.
yes.
So, what does being prepared look like through your eyes, through your lens, Imani? What does that look like for you? And the reason I'm asking, right, is because like me and Jay, we're going through this process along with many of you in the chat, and we're trying to figure it out. So I just want to get like a perspective.
You can type it. You can type it. We can definitely come back to you. You can type it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I know, if as soon as I read that July 2026, I put myself there, and I was like, I'm not ready. Where's this reenlistment package at? But that's a real feeling, right? And that's that nervousness, like you don't want to mess this up. You want to get it right. And as much as you may want to leave the service, like you said, is you're going from something you know to something the unknown. Like you don't know. Like um
Having to learn everything all over again. It's not like it is in the service, it's the civilian side. Like an example, Corinne can attest to this. When we were going through the SHRM course with Nicole Donraj, Nicole kept telling me in this cohort that, hey, Nigel, you know the HR stuff and the Navy. And I was like, yeah, I've been doing it for a while. But as we went through the course and I was learning SHRM and the acronyms and just the way things were on the civilian side, boy, that was a whole different world to me. So, we go from operating op tempo up here and then having to come back down here and have a slice of that humble pie and just learn everything from the ground up. That's a tough adjustment.
yeah, yeah. I would agree, man. Um I probably got one more tool to share for the day.
Oh,
Um
look, Caesar, we got a comment from Caesar. He separated this January 2026, and it's been an exciting journey.
let's talk about that. Caesar, how
Oh,
was it?
that's refreshing.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
You can.
All right, how's it going? So yeah, it was very, very exciting. So I like the template that you guys put out, that the 1 year, 3 months, 6 months template.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is like a perfect alignment of where you need to be at and gauge yourself. But I will say there are some situations, like for my situation, my last year I got sent on deployment. So some situations don't allow you to do those tasks, like how we have on those templates. So I would say for the people in the chat, take advantage of that. You, if you are not on deployment on a ship or out boots on ground or something like that. And I will say one of the things that I personally would do over would be the SkillBridge situation. I was coming off a deployment, 11 months on a ship, and last thing I want to do was go on a SkillBridge and, hey, I want to work more. I want to understand the role. I just want to, kick my feet up, relax, and mellow out a little bit. And I would do that over again just because a lot of these companies view SkillBridge as an internship and a
Mm.
gateway to step into a lot of these roles. So like, for example, when I was doing this Thursday with the vets and tech situation, a lot of these big 500 Fortune companies, in order to step into these roles, a SkillBridge situation was really, really easy to do that. Another one I would probably give for advice would be with the money situation that you guys talked about. Since I've been out in January, I have been job searching since about a week and a half ago because I picked up a PM job about a week and a half ago. So having that backup money to withstand a couple weeks or even months, which I, fortunately was able to do, just to cover either like basic living while you are transitioning into finding a role or getting into a position that will bring in income. So I definitely 100% agree with that. And yeah, it will be for people that are stepping into the civilian side without a position already lined up for you or just something on the other side. I have talked to a lot of service members that have been through Lockheed or Boeing or a lot of the defensive companies, and they all, agree that there are times where you kind of get down, you kind of get upset, or there's a lot of times you're maybe even sometimes depressed about I'm not getting a role for a month or not hearing something for 2 months. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I was able to get a PM job, like I said, with Vet Claims AI. So if any of you guys need any advice on top of the claims as well, I'll probably put my LinkedIn and we can connect to there as well.
I'm sorry, did you say vet claims? Like disability ratings?
So yeah, so Vet Claims is a company that deals with disability ratings for veterans that are having trouble or they don't know where to step in or even where to start, and then
Mm.
they able to do it through the updated AI, and also with a lot of the technology that's coming out.
Oh, wow, that's amazing, man. Thank you for putting that out and thanks for sharing that. That's
Yeah,
a huge resource.
yeah, no problem. It was founded by a veteran as well, so he knows all the tricks and things that we have to go through in order to get that claim.
And nowadays, it's becoming harder, to get rated for what you deserve, from what I'm seeing
Right,
and hearing. So all the help we can get, much, much appreciated.
right.
And yeah, I'll drop my LinkedIn as well into the chat. So, if you're on here, let's connect. Let's take this and ride this to the end.
All right, all right. All right, thank you so much.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Amani, you have your audio back on?
I do.
Hey, so let us know how you feeling with this July 2026.
Well, sorry in advance. It's 2:34 in the morning, so I am
Oh,
not prepared for video chat. But I think because I spent so much time since I've been in service, like 100%, like dedicated to the mission of my job, like nothing else. I spent zero time on myself professionally and personally. And I mean, I don't regret it because I signed my contract so that I could, do my job. But I think now that I kind of locked in and made the decision to 100% separate from the military, it just kind of hit me all at once. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do this. And now I'm like, cool, I'm not ready to do this, but I don't have a lot of time to, make things happen. And I have really big goals. Like my dream is to work overseas, and stay where I am or go, to another overseas location. And those aren't small goals that I have. And I don't know, I feel like I just kind of put myself in a situation where I was not matching the civilian aspect of how great I might look in the Navy. Like I look great in the Navy. I look great, as far as like the military stance goes, but as far as the civilian inspector, especially being IT, like everything is moving like constantly. It's more certifications every day. It is a big change.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
Imani, you said you were overseas?
I am.
Jay, weren't we on the rundown early and there was a sofa?
Yeah,
Hmm.
SOFA. Yeah, we're talking about SOFA agreements and SOFA visa. So yeah, SOFA visa. So
Mm.
yeah, it's knowing that and knowing the process for that and just being able to work under that. And some disclaimers with that. But it is like I said, and that's the thing that a lot of people definitely want. Some people want to be overseas because the quality of life is better, and the opportunities. But how do you do that? And from what I've gathered, like they've told me, as you transition, you got to come back to the stateside, and then you got to find the opportunity that pulls you overseas, and you got to be looking for that stuff, like as you transition. And so there are some tools definitely that you can kind of take advantage of, that have list opportunities overseas. Like if you go to, it's called NLX, uh, jobs. They have a bunch of jobs that's everywhere around the world. And they do have some things that you can find that's like overseas that can kind of help you. But then like the other thing is you're looking at companies specifically, like what companies have what contracts at what bases. We were talking about that earlier. And so that's just another thing that it's a process, right? It's definitely a process. It's not easy, but it's just something that to kind of coordinate and go through. But one thing that I would say that could definitely help with that, and I share this a bit, and I'm gonna share it now, is a focus framework that I've talked about. And Imani, you kind of hit on it, right? You spend 8 hours a day focusing on mission, and a lot of us do that. It's kind of hard to detach yourself as you're transitioning and you're still in the role and it's kind of focus on, the stuff that you have because you want to act like you're still working, but you got things to take care of. And for the most part, like we kind of push those things that we have to take care of for ourselves off. Like, yeah, I know I got to go to medical, but who's going to do this paperwork that needs to be done, or who needs to coordinate this, or who. And so we put ourselves in a predicament that it's just hard to kind of control. And so what I want to talk about for here is, and this is something I use to help me. So like if you spend 8 hours a day, supporting a company or organization or whatever it is that you do, you should at least have 2 to 3 hours a day for yourself. It's important to factor that in because you need to be able to build, whether you're staying out or getting out, you still need to be able to build that. And so this framework, it focuses on 3 focus areas, and the way it breaks down is the first thing is touching base with people in the industry that you want to go into. So for like Imani's situation is just reaching out to possible contractors that are in the roles that she wants to, apply to, or talking to different companies overseas, and doing like informational interviews. How did you get there? What was the process? Can you let me know what that looks like? And making sure you have those 3 conversations each month, right? So at least at the very minimum, have 3 conversations a month with individuals that's in the industry that you care about, so that you can kind of like guide yourself on that. You can use, platforms like Mill Mentor or ACP to touch base with folks for free and get a good understanding, but that'll help guide you as you transition. And then the other thing is going to 2 events, like attending events. It's important to be able to attend events, especially for companies that have opportunities or resources, whether it be resume building, your LinkedIn, whatever it is. These things are going to help you refine. And so those are the things I plan on incorporating once as I see different schedules come across. And then the last thing is like I have a monthly goal. Every month I have one goal that I work at and I attack. And so I work on that goal, whether it's, I'm trying to build out something or I'm trying to implement something that's going to help me in my transition or going to help me in one of the businesses I'm running. All those things collectively together. And if you look at that, depending on how many months you have left in, you can think at like, if it's within a year, you have 36 people that you've contacted, right? You have 24 places or 24 events that you've been through, and then you have 12 goals that you accomplish. That's just breeding success for you. What's your thoughts, Nigel?
I think the 3-2-1 focus framework, if you stick to this will get you on the right track. Like, having the intentional conversations, right? Connecting with people, updating the resume on LinkedIn or building one partnership. I just built a partnership right now with Caesar, resume updates. Jay, are we still cleared hot on career flow?
Yeah, we are.
We are, right? So for those of you that are still in the market looking for a job or pivoting into something different, um, let's connect on LinkedIn. Let me know how I can help. I have the database that Jay was talking about earlier with NLX. I can help along the way with, the optimization. Um, Message me on the side. Let's connect and let's work together on that.
Yeah. And if you guys have any questions for us, we did create an email for this podcast. And it's just tm@actnoweducation.org. And so please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be able to help you and respond to that as well. But like I said, the goal is just to bring in resources. It's not going to be like a heavy lift, but it's essentially being able to collectively as a community transition together. Everyone's going to be at different stages. Everyone's going to be focusing on different things, but collectively we come together to kind of figure out how to make this work. We all will have a better, successful outcome. Don't do it alone. Corinne?
Mm-hmm.
My question is for male spouses. Like, how can you help male spouses on their transition, either out of the military with their spouse or just on their own?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like there's no big difference. I mean, for spouses, the key difference is the support line, right? For the military, we have all these different avenues that you can kind of touch into, but spouses are trying to figure out what resources are available to them. And so for us, working on your resume, being able to provide you some resources and tools that help you align what opportunities may be available. Just like we have SkillBridge, there's fellowship program with MSEP, and we have connections to that. And that's the Career Accelerator program that they have that you can get 90 days working for a company. And there's a list of different companies that will take you on. And so just having a game plan for your transition, because whether you are getting PCSed or your spouse is actually transitioning out the military, there's things that spouses need to do for themselves, because a lot of times you sacrifice your career, your time, and your energy to support your service member, and that and then when it's time for you to focus on yourself, you don't know what that looks like because you haven't done it, right? It's not something that you've been worked on. So I think in a sense it's the same thing, finding that sense of purpose. What career fields am I interested in? Who should I be reaching out to? And I think that framework, the focus framework, works for anybody and everybody. And so we'll be able to kind of talk about those things and touch base more on those opportunities as they come through. And then for the spouses that are interested and kind of like going through that process of, how am I landing a job? It's just like what Caesar says. She says, like, that 1 a month, 2 month where you're not getting a call back, that's fine and dandy. It gets you scared a little bit. But if 6 or 8 months have gone by and you haven't received a call back from a company that you're reaching out to, that could be, devastating. And it could be extremely scary if your transitioning service member is getting out and they're looking for a job. And that's the only set of income that they have is maybe their disability and their retirement pay, or if they may not have retirement. And so how do you kind of work through those concerns? Because it's the pressure is still there. The bills are not going to go away. You may be transitioning, but those bills are not going to go. They're going to be there for you waiting. So like, look at that process. And so that's what we're going to try to help for, whether you're a spouse, transition service member, give you some of the tools and resources, and then for the veterans that join, listening to what they have to share, so that we can be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up just in case we have spouses joining in or in the future segments that spouses pop up. But Imani, I also in Europe, it's almost 3. I'm still up in the hotel lobby. So yeah, I haven't left the couch because I've been telling everybody about A&E passing in. So I've still been here from the rundown. So yeah, I haven't been to my room.
It's the dedication,
Yeah.
Man, that is motivation and dedication right there.
Well, we're going to wrap this up, and this is just our first of many episodes as we start to go through the transition process. And we want to, like I said, always keep it like an open forum, because we really want people to get the most out of this. We want to talk to anybody, even though there's a lot of resources I threw in there. We really just want people to be able to understand the transition, because as I go through this, I'm trying to figure out what my left and right limits are. What do I need to focus on? And you can't do everything. You try, but you can't do everything. So you have to kind of figure out what works for you based off the time, what's important, what's not. Nigel?
I think, we were touching on this earlier, people applying to jobs and not hearing anything back. Months go by and you don't hear anything back. That could be a lot of pressure when you're transitioning out. But I think from what I've seen, the applications are good, but they don't always necessarily get you in the room. It's the relationships. So let's, keep building the network. Like Jay said, this is just an open forum discussion. There's no right or wrong answers. Let's all learn from each other and help support each other. And I'm looking forward to it every week.
Yeah. We need to do this so that we can stay on top of our game as well. So absolutely.
Help hold us accountable, man. We don't know what we're doing.
We're trying to figure it out as well. But we appreciate you guys for joining our first session. We look forward to continue this conversation. And please feel free, if you got any questions or topics that you want us to talk about, definitely email us at tm@actnoweducation.org. That's Tango Mike at actnoweducation.org. And we'll take a look at it. We'll make sure we incorporate it. But we got a few sessions to do before I transition, and then Nigel transition, and then we hope to keep this going so people can get a lot of value out of it. So I appreciate you guys for joining. Thank you for tuning in, and I want you guys to have an awesome rest of your week. And yeah, we'll follow up with you later.
It's been real.
Yeah, real fun. All right, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Act Now Education's Transition with Us. We hope you learned and were able to connect with others today and gain some awesome resources. You can go to our website at www.actnoweducation.org to sign up for our newsletter, and also join us on our private Facebook group where we provide more resources and have more interaction with our community. So until next time, take care.